Well, I went to Tractor Supply to get some chicken feed, and they actually had these these shallow impact sockets for basically $11, and it is a half-inch drive metric, and these are made in Taiwan. So the only thing I didn't have any metric shallow half inches, so for $11 it's hard to beat. The only thing I don't like about these, really, I like them with the exception. The only thing I don't like about these is that the laser or whatever kind of etching, it looks like paint almost, on the sockets. There's no other identifying marking. So once this 12, 13, 14, 17, 19, once all that wears off, you're not going to be able to tell what what socket it is. So I may etch it in there somehow. Now, what kind of warranty do these have? Well, it is disputed. It says satisfaction guaranteed. I actually asked the guy at the Tractor Supply. He said that JobSmart tools, they just swap them out. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but $12. Now, it is missing, it does skip some sizes. It's missing a 15 millimeter, and I use a lot of 15 millimeters. So, it's hard to find a individual sale on impact sockets, but Lowe's has Craftsman and Cobalt, and they're almost the same price, about $5 a piece. And the reason I chose the Craftsman over the Cobalt was they were almost identical, except the Cobalt had etching like this. It was not embedded into the socket, where the Craftsman actually says Craftsman in the socket. And even though it does have some laser etching, it does have the size stamped in there, which is a nice touch. The icons have that too. So, and you see this is shiny, I don't know what kind of steel that is, but, and this has the matte finish. So anyway, I got this from Home Depot, and I'll put my shallow set on that. So whether they work good or not, for what I'm using it for, they will. So anyhow, we're going to continue with this antifreeze change on the poor, forgotten Jeep JK, probably crying. And we are going to attempt to change that. All right, in order to drain the radiator, what you got to do is you've got to turn, that's the drain valve, and you can see the little nipple on it sticking down. So what you want to do is you want to turn that 180 degrees and pull out while you're turning. Some places say you have to take the front grill off, but you really don't. You can come in, let's see here. You can come through around this sway bar here. That's not the sway bar. Yeah, it is a sway bar. And with a pair of pliers, I'm gonna show you how to do that. All right, I decided to take this skid plate off because it's just going to make it easier. So you can, where is that? You undo this like this. So you can take this little plastic screw out. Come on, plastic screw. And then the whole thing, the little screw will come out, okay? And then I've got this removal tool here you can get from Harbor Freight, and you go like that, and when you press down on it, it'll come right out. No, it's not dripping very fast, so I think what I'm going to do is stick a little pin up in there. You've only got to remove the skid plate from the passenger side and just swing it over. You know, this thing's not dripping. I wonder if this is causing that. Let me There it goes. Remember to take the cap off. Ooh, look at that jelly. Yum, 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 yum. Now's a good time to clean out your reservoir too. And what I got all these distilled water, I'm not going to do a flush like with chemicals in here. I'm just going to pour some distilled water, clean it out, and put some new antifreeze. If it had a lot more miles on it, I probably would. But you never want to put tap water. You always want to put distilled water. Distilled water has all the minerals out of it after the distillation process. But tap water may have a lot of minerals, and that can do some corrosion. A little flush with some distilled water. What I am going to do is flush the heater core. So to flush the heater core, you got to take out this heater hose right here that's going to the thermostat housing, and then there's also another heater hose that goes down here. This heater hose right here, it actually bolts underneath this. I think that's the power steering pump. I think so. Anyway, so you take that clip off under there. Take off that one right here, and then I'm going to blow some air into it to flush all that out, and then I'm going to pour some distilled water through it. I've got a pair of these hose grabber pliers. These come in real handy. They're cheap at Harbor Freight. They're probably not good for professional use, but they work good for just your average do-it-yourself weakness man like me. So then you just pull that and you pull it off. It should come right off. All right. This, if you can see my finger, that is the clamp, and I've got to pull it off there. I've almost got it loose. Let's see. All right, when you pull this lower radiator hose off of that bottom nipple there, right there, a significant amount of antifreeze comes out. So you definitely want to do that. And then the good old Harbor Freight light turns off on you. Anyway, you then want to take the bottom heater hose, pull it out. Now you've got one here, you got the other one there, and it's easy to flush out. I'm going to flush it out one way and then flush it out the other way. With air first, because I'm not going to introduce any tap water. Tap water is a no-no. I'm going to use that distilled water in there. Now when I did my air conditioning flush, I kept this hose right here, and it fits right on the end of that blowgun, and it's got a little rubber grommet right here, and it's perfect to push air through a heater hose. Whoop. That's a lot of stuff in there. All right, the easiest way to do that, this is a concentrated formula. So the easiest way to do it is you want a 50-50 mix. So you take a gallon of this, pour it in a 5-gallon bucket, and your gallon of distilled water, pour it in a 5-gallon bucket, and then you will have the proper mix. So I'm going to do that right here. Now you want to keep this because once I have any left over in my 50-50 mix, I'm going to store it in that. you want to mix it up real good. So now that I've got my 50-50 mix, I'm going to pour a gallon back in here, and that should be about half of it. I'm actually going to filter it because I see something floating in that thing, even though I did clean it up. The filter I'm using is just a paint filter, like you paint car. That's what a paint filter looks like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the heater core back up. So I'm taking the heater core inlet here, and I'm going to pour the antifreeze down up in here until it comes out of this pipe here. You see, that's the outlet, I think. So I've got fresh water in there now. Not fresh water, but distilled water. And when it starts flowing out orange, then I do know that my heater core is full. Well, I never finish these jobs without a casualty. Just a flesh wound. But anyway, so what you need to do is, once you fill the heater core up, just put the heater hoses back on and then fill your radiator. And then don't forget to close off the valve here, which we went counterclockwise to open. We need to go clockwise to close. I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but mine had a little white dot right there. You see it? That faces you, so you know when you turn it 180 degrees, that's going to face this way. And then when you close it, if that's facing you, then it's closed. Time to fill it up. See how much goes fit back in the radiator. Don't forget, you also got to fill up your reservoir. All right, the reservoir's full. The radiator's full. All we got left to do now is put that back on. And these little Christmas tree things are a lot easier to put in than they were to take out. Basically, you just push that part in, just push that in, and then you take the centerpiece. Even though it's threaded to come out, you just really just stick it in there and push it in, and it holds. Now that I got all that orange jelly cleaned off from radiator cap, just put it back on. Some people say a radiator, but we call it a radiator down here. Okay. And that's it. Once it's running, you want to check for leaks. I don't see any leaks anywhere. This 3.8 liter is not very powerful, but it sure is easy to work on. The 3.6 I think is a much better motor, but there's no room. You got plenty of room. Look at all that room right here. You can get to the spark plugs on each side of the motor. So I guess for somebody that works on it themselves, this might be better. I don't know. Now this Hope Antifreeze, it says 5 year. The original bottle used to say 5 year, 100,000 mile. But what you got to do is you got to look for this part number. This is the correct part number that you need right here. That's the Mopar part number. So they sell it at AutoZone or Amazon. And if you get the AutoZone coupon that I've got in one of my previous videos, which is good, I think all the way through the end of September, this is the best deal. Buy it at AutoZone with that coupon. Well, for such an easy job and not much money, it's definitely a worthwhile preventive maintenance task to do. So don't skimp on it. Pay the extra $10 and get the correct antifreeze. Again, that's a 2010. This uses HOAT, H-O-A-T. I think I explained that earlier. Make sure you look at your owner's manual, and hope you enjoyed it. Now, there was probably some additional antifreeze left in the block. I'm not going to go through all that. I'll change this antifreeze now every few years, and it'll eventually wash through. It's much better than most people do, so I think it'll work out just fine. So y'all have a great evening.